I like this statement because I started doing business 30 years ago. And after those 30 years, with 52 companies under management now, I don't know the answer how to be a regional and global player. So I just try to share from my experience. If I can learn something from you, that'd be a great day for me. I think we all should agree that whatever you set out to do, you first should think of your own capability. And that's the thing that I want to talk to you about. Are you capable of going regional or global? And most of us normally have a dream or an idea, and we think our idea is great. With a good idea, we can do a lot of things. That's not the answer. To me, as any business model, any businessman already knows, the key is to make sure the 4 decisions you face every day will be answered in a correct way. So what are those 4 decisions you make every day, or you face every day? Strategy, capital, people, and execution. And remember, your idea, if you happen to come up with a good idea, it's just part of the strategy. So when people ask me, hey, Tin, I have a great idea, can you invest in me? I say, yes, but idea is a dime a dozen. It means nothing. It has no value at all until you can put that into a real strategy. And even when you have had that strategy, it's just 15% of the formula to be successful. So allow me to talk a bit about strategy, about people and execution. I will not talk about capital today because I don't know the answer. Of course, the first thing is if you want to organize any business plan, if you want to show to some investors that you do have a strategy, you must have the knowledge of the industry. You must have the knowledge of who are your competitors, who are the players, what kind of environment are you going to run into, and so on. And many people don't want to do that job. They think some consultants are going to do it for them. They think some of the employees can just go and have a market survey on their own, and they tell you something, then you can make the decision. That's not the way. Put your feet in the water if you want to do anything in business. Without you getting the details, getting yourself into the conversations with the players, you never be able to have a good plan. And instead of crying over spoiled milk, crying over your losses later, better do your job right from the beginning and do it correctly. So of course, when you get into a new market, there are different ways for you to approach the market. There are different ways for you to enter that market. You can choose to work with many people at the same time, all of them your agents. You may want to work with the biggest guy in the market as your exclusive agent. Give them some minimum turnover, minimum sales that they have to generate to be your exclusive agent. You may choose to get a joint venture partner that needs more time, of course, because you have to go and talk to all those friends you know, friends that you make maybe in JCI, maybe in YPO, maybe in Young Entrepreneurs Associations everywhere, especially in ASEAN. We are everywhere. In every of those ASEAN countries, you have on the Young Entrepreneurs Association. And in ASEAN now, you have more than 60 YPO chapters. I believe the number is the same for JCI. You can get to know a lot of those friends. Or if you are brave enough, if you think you know the market enough, do it on your own. Set up your own company. I hope some of you will be able to do that. Now, let's talk about people. We always say people are our most important assets. Is that true? No. Only the right people are. Not all people. In the old days, let's say about 10 years ago, I followed exactly what Jack Welch, the CEO of General Electric at that time, he taught me at that time that every year I should have all my employees ranked into A, B, and C. 10% A, 80% B, and 10% C. And all of those 10% C, they have to go. Only the A and the B people are the right people to keep. I don't do that anymore, because some of my C guys are even better than A guys from other companies. But still, we have to remember that not all people are the best assets you have. Only the best. Only the right ones are. And then when I ask a lot of friends, how do you keep your people? They say, well, I give a good salary. I put them into a very good environment. I give them a lot of incentives. But are you sure you can keep all of your people doing that? Just motivation, good environment, and incentives? No. Even in Vietnam today, I think some of you know, some of the Vietnamese trained right here in Vietnam are getting up to $1 million a year as a CEO. You cannot just pay enough, and you will never have enough money to pay those guys. But you need excellent people. You need talented people to work for you. How can you do that? Prove that yourself is a good leader. That's how you can keep people. Of course, a good leader must be able to share. And the more you share, the more you can get. I own 100% of my first company. Now I own only 61% of my company today. But you cannot compare the $10,000 I invested 20 years ago with the millions of dollars that I have today, or any of you can have today. And you have to be able to share if you want to have those big numbers with you. Now there are two terms that I'd like you to get familiar with. Are you a diminisher or a multiplier? Who is a diminisher? That's someone when you talk to, you feel that the guy is so great, so powerful, so good. And when you stand next to a guy like that, you feel so small. He makes you become smaller. He's a diminisher. On the other hand, you may sometimes, if you are lucky, you may run into somebody else. And when you listen to that guy, you talk to that guy, you feel, oh, I'm good. I can do something. He shares with me the energy and the passion to do something big for my life. I think I can do it. That's a multiplier. And what kind of leader would you want to become? A diminisher or a multiplier? Try to be a multiplier. Try to bring the best out of your people. Make them big. Make them successful. Then you do less. Because if everybody is less than you, you have to work a lot harder. And I don't want to work that hard anymore. Execution, as I mentioned, accounts for 50% of any business success. Strategy, as I mentioned, 15%. Capital, another 15%. People, 20%. Execution is the thing that counts. Whatever strategy you have, how much capital you have, even when you have the right people, if you don't have on the right processes, if you don't have on the policies in place that make people work together and work with on their heart, you are not going to reach what you want to do, what you set out to do from the beginning. So everything is in the detail, and the details are in the execution. So make sure when you have a business plan, the execution should happen, and that should follow your strategy all the time. There are only a few principles for execution, and I think we can remember those very easily. Metrics, KPI. Meeting rhythm is something I don't see in Vietnamese companies. And I hope some of you will learn about meeting rhythm. You plan all your meetings in advance. You may have an annual retreat for 3 days with your staff. That's once a year. That's your annual meeting. You have quarterly meetings to review the numbers of the quarter. Yes, you have to do it. Set it up in advance. You have monthly meeting with your management team. You cannot miss that. And even the daily meeting, don't call that a meeting, call that a talk, because you should stand up in your daily meetings. But they must happen at a place and a time that you fix in advance. And you can fix all of them in a year. Before you have anything else on your mind, you know that you have the meeting that day. So people know the agenda, they know the time, they know the place. They know what they are going to talk about. They know how they're going to report. Make that as a rhythm. Don't just call a meeting because you run into something special. It's a waste of time. When people and the mentality are adjusted to follow a pattern, they will produce better results. I try that, and I see the results. And I think that's something we should try to do together as well. Team capacity. This is something that we hear a lot in Vietnam, that any Vietnamese can be better than another guy. But a group of Vietnamese will do less than others. No. That's not true. Again, this is something that I cannot accept. If one of us is good, then two of us should be better. And three of us should be able to do more. Again, this is related to what I talked at the beginning. Are you ready to share? Are you ready to create an environment where all your people will put on their heart and their soul into the job? And that's the job of leaders. This is something else that I see every day as well in Vietnam. A lot of people will just go for the sales, whatever sales they can get. And they don't look at the bottom line. They don't look at the profits you can generate. Remember, sales is just vanity, just makeup. You have to make money in order to grow. Only profits is sanity. Now we have gone through what I say capability. This is the requisite condition for you to go regional or global. And that's your capability. But some will just feel happy staying in Vietnam. I have a big company. I have huge market share. I have a happy life. Why should I go outside? So without the desire to get out of Vietnam, you cannot be regional or global. Then some other people may have some pressure on them to go global or to go regional. Why? Because they need growth. In Vietnam, if you follow the GDP, you can grow 7%, 8%. If you are optimistic, you can put it at 10%. But some will want to do 20% or 30% a year. You can only get that growth if you go out of the country. And so those CEOs, they are under pressure to perform, to deliver that growth. To do that, they are forced to go outside. So again, if you want to go regional or global, first, you must be able to do it. Number two, you must have the desire to do it. Or number three, you must be under pressure to do it. If you just want to enjoy, go sightseeing, visit some friends in other countries, that's not business. That's not regional or global. That's just enjoyment. And we are here to do business, right? This is my farewell statement. Never underestimate yourself. Never underestimate your power of will. When you put your mind into doing something, you will figure out the way. Wherever there's a will, there's a way. Thank you.